is up, y'all? Welcome to The Stack. I'm Alex.
I'm Justin.
I'm Pete.
And on The Stack, we talk about a bunch of comics that have come out today. We review them, unless they're DC comics. Those rapscallions, they come out on Tuesdays. They've been out for 24 hours.
Yes, but you can read them. You can read them today. You can read comics whenever you want. That's the freedom of the comic book industry.
Right. And if you break into a writer's brain, you can read comics that haven't even been made yet, man. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I know what you mean by breaking into a writer's brain, too. You talk about with like a hammer?
Yeah, man. But 6 feet away, keep your safe distance. Let's get into this because I don't know where I was going.
What? Yeah, what the fuck?
I don't know where I was going with this, Pete. Iron Man #1 from Marvel, written by Christopher Cantwell, art by Cafu. This is, as you can imagine, another new start for Iron Man, a back-to-basic start after the big robot war. And this book spends quite a bit of time with Tony Stark the Man before it puts him in a classic Iron Man costume, throws him up against a new old threat. What'd you think about this book? How'd you feel about this versus the last couple of years in Tony's life?
I don't know if I'd call it an Iron Man costume, but other than that, I think it's this is a fun book. I feel like Tony Stark is popping a little bit more here. He feels a little bit on his own, less tied up in sort of the galaxy brain, worried about everything stuff that he's mostly been in for the last few years, and more just like the guy who puts on the suit.
It's nice to see him not being a robot or a dead version of himself or whatever it is. Like, it's nice to see Tony being Tony. But there's a lot of, like, interesting things in this comic. Like, I didn't really get past the sad girl playing her violin outside of an Apple store and then asked to leave, where she was crying and walking away. Like, that was fucking heartbreaking, man. That was cold as ice. But I'm interested to see what happens. The problem is, what I didn't like was there was like this moment where it was just like the movie where Tony Stark's like, oh yeah, and then someone comes up to him at a party and it's like, hey Tony, I got this thing to pitch you, and he's like, yeah, later. And then that person becomes the villain. And that was like, we saw that in this comic as well. And I was like, well, it's kind of played out, but all right, I'll see what's up.
Well, but it plays out differently, right? Because he turns around to the guy and he's
differently.
I mean, that's a classic Iron Man Tony Stark scenario. What I liked about this book is I spent most of the running time thinking we were going to be running out of time, that I was like, Jesus, why are they spending so much time on Tony Stark out of armor? Get to it already. You're going to run out of the page length here. But this was well paced. It was well thought out, and they clearly gave it a little bit of extra time to breathe, so you could spend time with Tony Stark before putting him in an action scenario. I don't know if it's going to pay out with the page length every issue necessarily like that, but it's refreshing and nice, like you were saying, Justin, to see him on a back-to-basics level Tony Stark, because we haven't really seen that in a very, very long time.
Yeah, reading this, I was like, oh yeah, he used to be sort of a dude who dealt with his own stuff, and now he's been, trapped in the Neanderthal age in a cave for a while. I also, a couple more details. I love Terex as a villain. Like one of my favorite villain characters, cosmic villains, who you don't see hardly ever. Like cool axe, cool looking dude. And I love the triangle shield in the first couple of pages and the Iron Man armor.
I agree. Good stuff and good art by Cafu as well. Yes.
Yeah, the art was great. The moment where he, spoilers, flies through a helicopter blade was pretty badass.
Yeah. All very cool stuff. Let's move on and talk about You Look Like Death, Tales from the Umbrella Academy #1 from Dark Horse Comics. Story by Gerard Way and Shaun Simon. Art and colors by I.N.J. Culbard. This, of course, does not have the regular artist Gabriel Ba on Umbrella Academy. That's because, as
what
you
the
can probably
fuck?
Tell, hold on. You can probably tell from the title, this is a spin-off. This is a side story focusing on Klaus as he gets kicked out of the Umbrella Academy and heads off to Hollywood. Man, this is just a lot of fun. You gotta love this. Klaus getting high on drugs.
Alex is gonna love this. The original Klaus head.
I love Klaus. I also love going back to the Umbrella Academy after being so deep into the show with Umbrella Podcademy, our Umbrella Academy podcast, to revisit the characters in the original form. I was like, all right, Kraken's actually a badass and not just a sad sack. That's nice to see. That's fun.
Yeah.
What's
your favorite type of hero? Badass or sad sack?
Great question. It's very much a toss-up. Pete, you got to love the vampire monkey, right?
Yeah,
right? That's
that was really fun. First off,
wait, hold up. Why'd you go to Pete for the vampire monkey?
Because I was reading the book and I was like, Pete's going to hate this, but he's going to like the vampire monkey.
Is that true?
Well, I didn't hate it. I mean, what's upsetting is the father just kills me in this. Just how cold this fucking dad is really, it's hard to get past, and it's just hammered all the time during the book. So it's tough. If this father had any compassion, these kids would have such a better chance in life, and it is just heartbreaking. But
Pete shitting on fatherhood, going after the whole enterprise.
That's right. I'm just, you guys better fucking get your shit together and fucking raise
I just
your kids
kicked out my son. I told him he was cut off.
Wow.
He headed to Hollywood and got crazy high.
Oh,
nice.
Boy.
He's going to love it out there.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, Klaus is fun. It's nice to revisit this a little bit, but I like Gabriel Ba.
Wow. Are you crying, Pete? I love the art really pops in this, especially once the story moves out to the West Coast. I feel like the scenes are really, really great, really fun. Great all around.
Yeah. Let's move on then to Batman number 99 from DC Comics, written by James Tynion IV and art by Jorge Jimenez. This is the, I think, penultimate chapter of the Joker War storyline.
It seems that way.
The Joker has basically destroyed Gotham City, taken over Bruce Wayne's fortune. Finally, Batman and the crew are fighting Batman by appealing to his family, saying, I messed up, get back together with me all, let's take this down. Catwoman, meanwhile, is attacking financially, trying to get the funds back. Man, this is the stuff that happens in this issue, and I almost don't want to spoil it, but particularly towards the end, made me exclaim out loud. Like, there are two moments towards the end of the issue that I went, ha, 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 just like that, out loud. What'd you guys think about it?
Well, I was really, this is a lot of fun. This book is great. Part of me does really want to kind of get back to the Bat and Cat stuff that was kind of set up before this. So seeing them kind of apart is driving me crazy a little bit. But man, the whole start of this, like Joker rolling in his fucking limo, like this is like really insane to kind of see where things are right now. And it really does get you kind of like hyped for that end in such a great way. I mean, the panels where Batman just kind of like lands in front of like the spot where he's supposed to be. So epic, so well done. I love this kind of like showdown kind of atmosphere that is being set up, and the reveal at the end was holy fucking shit.
Yeah, James Tynion is such a tactical writer. Like, he comes at the full story and the individual scenes with different angles than we've seen before. Like, we get to spend more time with the Joker than I feel like we get to see normally. Normally, the Joker's like just cackling and plotting against Batman. In this, we get to see a little bit more of him doing the logistical bits of his plan and then executing it in the way leading up to that last page reveal. And like, that stuff is fun and smart and makes this story seem fresh, despite the fact that we've been, I want to say, drowning in Joker for the past couple of years.
Yeah, well, that and also that it is another Gotham City is in flames story.
Yeah.
But it's still, which we've seen a million times. I don't know why anybody lives there, but to your point, it still feels dangerous. It still feels like it could go either way at the end of the day. Great stuff.
just before we move on, we were talking about like some oh shit moments towards the end, but also like some touching stuff that happens in this too. Like just before Batman kind of gives his speech or right after it, someone gets a gift. Very touching.
You're talking about the Nightwing costume, right?
Yeah, I am. I'm trying not to spoil it, you fuck, but cool.
Well, I mean, I think that's okay. We've already seen him in the costume several times because of the publishing schedule. But yeah, it's good Bat Family stuff. James Tynion gets it. It works really well. This is a great issue. Moving on to another one, Thor #7 from Marvel Comics, written by Donny Cates and art by Aaron Kuder. This is picking up after the death of Galactus last issue and Thor's big vision that some bad things are coming not just his way, but the Marvel Universe's way. And he is throwing Mjolnir down on Broxton once again because he feels like he is not worthy to pick it up. Turns out more people might be worthy to pick it up. As usual, Donny Cates just finds some fun, unique angles on his characters, and I love Aaron Kuder's art so much. I love it. Like every time, it's just a pleasure to see his name.
It's very enjoyable. The art is fantastic. Sorry, Justin. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, please, it's your time to shine.
Well, this is such a fun back and forth between Tony and Thor that I love very much. This is what a cool kind of setup for this new kind of arc. Very excited to see where this goes. A little kind of twist on the unworthy. But yeah, I'm very much on board. It's also great to see the kind of I'm blanking on his name there. The
Beta
horse.
Ray Bill?
Yeah, thank you. I was going to say horse Thor.
Speaking of Beta Ray Bill, when he takes his helmet off, that dude's fucked up.
That looks weird.
Scary.
That looks very weird, yeah. I like it. He looks much less like a horse without his helmet.
Yeah, and much more like a nightmare that I'm going to have tonight. I feel this book reminded me of a conversation we've had a lot about Batman. Like, Thor is a character that is, like, often pretty serious. Like, God, dealing with God-level things, speaking in very heightened language. Yet, Donny Cates finds a way to make this fun. There's a lot of, like, humor here, and Thor can play around. Something we've been talking about a lot lately with Batman is, like, why does it always have to be doom and gloom? There's room in our ability as fans to take two sides of a character. Someone who takes their job seriously, but also likes to play around a little bit with his friends. And this book does a great job of keeping the action fun, the stakes high. I mean, 2 issues ago, everything was hell. And now here we are where we're having fun with words on Mjolnir.
Yeah, I just leave words on the hammer, man.
Yeah, words on the hammer. That's what I always say. Moving on to one that I know Justin is super psyched about. Stillwater #1 from Image Comics, written by Chip Zdarsky and art by Ramón K. Perez. Now, this is a bit of a spoiler because they only eventually get around to it in the second half of the book. But it is the concept of the book. It's about a guy who loses his job, gets an inheritance, or so he thinks, that brings him to the small town of Stillwater, and it turns out in the small town of Stillwater, nobody ever dies. Things get darker from there. Justin, talk about this book a little bit.
I mean, the art by Ramón K. Perez is so good. I love his work on everything that he does. I think the first book that really caught my eye was, I think, called Tale of Sand, I want to say. Based on a Jim Henson script. And great book, and this just art really shines. The story itself reminded me a lot of Lovecraft Country, actually. The first 2 episodes of that, except with none of the race elements, and it's just like sort of spoiled white dudes going on this similar journey. But the way the story ends is exciting and curious what the next move is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, this is the new, like, hey, I'm a prince, and if you send me money, I'll send you money tenfold. Like, when you get the letter that somebody died and there's inheritance, you don't fall for that, all right? That's a trap. It's clear. If you didn't know that person...
Sorry, Pete, did you just say somebody died and left me money? Let me know where I need to go to pick it up.
Oh, okay. Well, you got to go to Stillwater.
And let me say on the other side, Pete,
on it.
your rich great uncle did die, and you have to go get that money. Like, you can't just leave that hanging there just because you're scared.
I'm not going to fall for that, all right? It's
All
some
right.
creepy town.
No,
where-
I back up what Justin is saying. This is true and accurate. And if you give us $50 right now, we'll tell you where to go.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll just Venmo you guys then.
Yeah, that sounds great. Actually, you know what might be easier is if you gave us your credit card number.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Why don't I give it to you right over the air?
All right, go ahead.
Yep. 555
One.
55.
Yeah.
One,
It is
two,
weird.
three.
It's all fives. It is crazy.
Yeah.
Wait, actually, I had a question. Just to step back, Thor. I didn't try this yet. The phone number he puts down on Mjolnir for Tony. That's just like a regular 212 number, right? That's pretty weird.
Yeah. Here, I got you right here. 212-970-4133.
Ooh, I don't get any phone service down here. You want to give it a call?
Yeah, I'll give it a call.
Okay, that
Oh,
sounds
man,
great.
that's exciting.
Yes. Meanwhile, I'll talk about Stillwater. This reminded me a little bit of Revival, the Tim Seeley book, just in terms of concept, which is a great book that everybody should check out. It does feel a little more noir and a little more focused on this character. I'm also sure Chip Zdarsky is aware of Revival and trying to do something different in that, but I'm curious to see how it delineates itself from that going on, just in terms of the pure people coming back to life. You about to call the number, Justin?
Yes, and here we have not planned this, so we truly have no idea what's going to come up here.
This is going to be an old lady who's going to be like, hello?
Yes, this is Iron Man. However, due to some big blonde jerk, I no longer use this number. But hey, nice try anyway. For all things Tony Stark, please visit www.tonystarkironman.com and try and stay safe out there, yeah? I'm busy enough as it is.
Wow, that's
There it
fun.
Is that Donny?
That's cool.
Maybe.
It could
It
be.
sounds like
it
it.
sounds like him.
Yeah. Fun stuff. Good times
Fun
with
stuff.
comic books. Pick up Stillwater number 1. Moving on to, this is going to be a mouthful. You ready? Detective Comics number 1027 from DC Comics. This is an anniversary issue, so it's a bunch of stories. So it is written by Peter J. Tomasi, Brian Michael Bendis, Matt Fraction, Greg Rucka, James Tynion IV, Kelly Sue DeConnick, Marv Wolfman, Grant Morrison, Tom King, Snot Snyder, Dan Jurgens, and Mariko Tamaki. And the art is by Brad Walker, David Marquez, Chip Zdarsky, Eduardo Risso, Riley Rossmo, John Romita Jr., Emmanuel Lupacino, Chris Burnham, Walter Simonson, Ivan Rice, Kevin Nolan, and Dan Mora. So,
You read it so fast, it sounded like you said Snot Snyder.
It did sound like Snot. It did sound like Snot Snyder.
Thank you for picking on the thing that I screwed up out of 20 names.
Alex, I just want to say you really nailed it when you said Peter J. Tomasi, Brian Michael Bendis, Matt Fraction, Greg Rucka, and the rest.
I like this package. I know we talk a lot about short story connections. This is
Justin loves talking about nice packages.
Wow.
This is a good set of Batman stories. I was fully prepared to be like, yeah, I don't know. I like this one, but I liked most of them.
No, it was hard to pick a favorite as well. I really liked the Masterclass story. Was a good use of the Bat family, where everyone really got to pop for a second. The Grant Morrison Detective number 26 story was like
so funny,
so fun, and like I was like, oh, Grant Morrison. Yes, I haven't seen that Grant Morrison in quite a while. Where it's just like finds a little fun bit and just needles it into a story.
I mean, I'll mention what the idea of the story is. As you can figure out, it's the guy who came the issue before Batman, and he's all ready to be the next big vigilante. He's going to be the Silver Ghost. He has the whole plan. He has his origin story. He has his motivation, everything. And then he goes out on his first mission, and he sees Batman, and he's like, shit.
This guy's got good branding, good ears.
To your point, it's great. I want more of that out of Grant Morrison. I don't need like crazy musical notes from Superman saving the universe anymore. Just give me that fun stuff. Like he did that on Klaus as well, at least at the beginning, where it was just this simple idea of What if Santa was Battle Santa?
Yeah.
That's great. More of that. Fun stuff. Pete, which ones did you like? What were you into?
I really love the Fraction Happy Returns. The
Yeah.
Rucka rookie story was really great. That
so
we've
good,
had an eye on you was a awesome moment.
That was cool.
Love the shout out to the old costume and Generations Fractured, and the Dan Moore art and a gift. Yes, please, just fantastic.
Yeah, it's just such a good package across the board.
It really is. It's one of those ones where you're like, all right, a collection, but then you're like, holy shit, this is worth it.
Yeah, pretty much every story is good. The art is great. Definitely pick this up. Next up, Goosebumps, Secrets of the Swamp, #1 from IDW, written by Mariko, Ninja Camp, and art by Yasmin Flores Montanez. This is a new story, I guess, set in the Goosebumps universe. This is honestly something that is very much out of my wheelhouse. I never read Goosebumps as a kid or anything like that. But it's about a kid who is a gamer. She has one prosthetic arm, so clearly she feels uncomfortable about going outside. But she meets another friend who's a prominent gamer, and they begin exploring their town that has some spooky monsters in it. What'd you think about this book?
Well, I'm not really a big Goosebumps head, but I really like the start of this. This is a solid first issue. Does a great job of introducing interesting characters and then throwing into a shit show. And I understand, like, you look up to some hero, somebody you admire, and they're like, oh, yeah, kid, you want to roll with me? Guess what? We're going out into the nightmare that is this world.
And I appreciate you explaining a all-ages, mostly kids book as throwing them into a shit show.
Well,
Yeah.
what would you call that fucking swampland that they live in?
Swamp. There's nothing wrong with swamp.
I'm not saying that, but
What's so scary about a
swamps with
swamp? What's so scary about a
monsters-
swamp, Pete? Because it's moist.
No, they have straight up monsters in their fucking swamp.
Yeah, but you seem like hung up on the swamp. Like swamps
No,
are
I
nice.
wasn't. You were the one
swamp.
hung up on the
Fill the swamp.
That's what I always cheer a piece of shit.
That is what you always cheer. Even your time cheerleading at Cornell University, you were a huge fill the swamp.
See you.
Go Big Red.
Oh my God.
Just building out some of our background on the show. I liked this. I like this a lot. I also didn't read Goosebumps, so I don't know what Goosebumps brings to this story. It's just like a creepy story, I guess. The branding on it, because this story of these people coming together, sort of through gaming, and then like the gaming becoming real, and then they go in the swamp to face a monster, could stand on its own in a fun way.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a fun
I
all-ages
really-
story. Like you said, I like the characters. I wanted a little more out of the story, but I feel like obviously we're going to get that in the second issue.
Issue 2 is a good spot to look for that.
Yeah, wait for it, Selves. Come on.
There you go. Let's move on to another one. Giant Size X-Men Storm #1 from Marvel, written by Jonathan Hickman and art by Russell Dauterman. Now, we have talked incessantly with these Giant Size X-Men books about what is going on here. These seem like half-finished stories. What is happening? Wahoppies, as one might say.
Nope.
No,
Now-
but I would not say that. This
Wait, I also
issue,
wanted to say, though, that this Jordan D. White said that this issue would change things for Storm forever. So there was a lot of hype going into this issue.
Well, and can you pinpoint what that is?
Yeah.
What?
Turns out Storm is sick and she's got some things going on, and it makes me very sad.
Well, but
no.
she's cured by the end. Spoiler.
Yeah, is she, though? Because it seems like that demon they pulled out of her is just going to grow.
The only thing that I was going to say, just to kind of finish up the thing that I was saying, and then we can turn over to the rest of it, is this is finally bringing together some threads specifically from the Giant Size X-Men issues. We get the Nightcrawler one, which focused a little bit on Cypher. We get the Storm one, obviously, which, or I guess it was the Jean Grey one? Maybe? I honestly don't remember. Whatever it was a Storm story, and they're finally picking up on that. And we also get the Phantom X one picking up with that as well, and starting to loop all of these disparate threads together. Justin, what did you think about this? Because you've been very critical is probably the wrong word, but I would say dubious at least.
Yeah,
about the
surprised
path
just
of
in
these.
general
Yeah.
that these have been sort of off the main character standalone stories, or seemingly standalone stories. But to your point, what you were just saying, I do think this amounts to a lot. It feels like, I don't know if maybe it's faded in our minds because of how much has happened in the X universe since the dawn of X, but so much of those first issues were about sort of the artificial intelligence that will eventually destroy not only the mutants but the humans and be the real enemy. If humans and mutants can get over their shit and face AI. And it feels like maybe this is the moment where it starts. That this, the being in the world, which the whole premise of the world is that it accelerates time, it accelerates evolution. So they pull this techno-organic virus that Storm picked up in a recent issue where they went into, what is the place? They went into
Orcus.
Yeah,
I think
the Orcus and the Children of the Vault is what I was trying to think of. And she pulls this techno-organic virus. The Children of the Vault, also a hyper-evolving, hyper-time place, and takes it to this other, even more pocket dimension where the time happens even faster. And I think that is the AI evolution that will eventually lead to some of the real monsters that the X-Men face in the Dawn of X issues. And the people we have at the end of this issue sort of being there are Phantom X, Phantom X's sort of twin, I guess.
Twin, yeah.
And then a random dude from AIM.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing that's kind of messed up about it, particularly as I'm a fan of the character, is Cypher and Warlock seem to know what's going on and seem to be kind of cool with it, which is not great. There's definitely been some weird, potentially dangerous stuff going on with Cypher and Warlock over the course of this entire run, and that certainly seems to be the clearest tip of the hat to what's happening here. I 100% agree with you, Justin. This is like, I think the important thing, it's surprising you said Storm, because I think the important thing is to the overall plot of what is happening with the X-Men line since the very beginning versus necessarily Storm.
Yeah, it feels like a bigger thing. And that's why I always say, don't trust the guy that speaks all the languages.
Yeah.
You know, he's up at the bar, he's talking to the bartender, ordering you a weird drink because he knows too much.
But yeah, good issue, particularly if you've been reading these giant-size X-Men books. If you've been read House of X and Powers of 10 and you really like those, I think this is a good thing to pick up on to kind of get potentially the ongoing story. Let's move on to Big Girls #2 from Image Comics, story and art by Jason Howard. I think we were pretty into, but a little reserved on the first issue of this book. It takes place in a post-apocalyptic world where women grow to gigantic size. Men also grow to gigantic size, but become monsters and are attacking one of the last remaining cities. We've been following one of the so-called big girls who is fighting back against them. We get more fleshed out about the world this issue. I like this issue a lot more, personally, because of the details and the nuance that it added. How'd you guys feel?
Yeah, this is good because it's like, all right, now we're kind of really getting understanding of who's who, where's what type of situation.
Who's big, who's little.
Yeah. Men are monsters, women are saving the world. It's great. I do think, though, that the kind of reveal at the end is really what's going to kind of take this concept and kind of push it. But the art's great. The action's phenomenal. It's an interesting world, so I'm excited for more. But I'm glad that, and agree with Zalbin, that issue 2 kind of like solidified things a little bit better.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's nice to sort of, like you're saying, Pete, see the sides of where everyone is. We have our main character who's a little bit dubious about the status quo, and then we have this sort of rebel faction in the back half that is
also. I was a little worried about how slow that one main character was to pull the trigger to save that other person's life. There, I was like, thought that would be a bigger issue and might come back.
We'll have to see what happens.
I love the double-page spread in the middle of the book of our main big girl being operated on, and sort of repaired. Like it really.
Oh yeah, that was fun. Some of the
cowgirl as she's known.
Yeah,
very Gulliver in
Yeah.
that moment.
Yeah, Culbard, and I was going to say like Fraggle Rock reminded me of the Doozers a little bit.
Yeah, dozers, right?
You say Fraggle Rock a lot.
Down
Just
at
in
Fraggle
general.
Rock, what?
Yeah,
No,
down at
just- I'm
Fraggle
just-
Rock.
Yeah.
Down
no.
at Fraggle Rock.
That's
Down
not a
at Fraggle
criticism.
Rock.
That's just an open-ended statement.
Every time I
LePage-
walk by a construction site, I want to take a bite out of it. What?
Every time I walk past a pile of garbage, I want to talk.
Yeah.
You
That's
walk
why you
past a
look-
construction site and you're like, "What up, doozers?" And they're like, "Get the fuck out of here!"
We're trying to build radishes here. Come on. Justice League number 53 from DC Comics, written by Joshua Williamson and art by Mariko. This is tying into Dark Knight's Death Metal. This arc is called Doom Metal and focuses on one mission of, I think it's fair to call them sub-Justice League members. /sub. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Spicy.
It's Nightwing.
Shots
it's Detective
fired.
Chimp. It's Hawkgirl. She's a member of the Justice League. But they are going after Perpetua's throne. Pete, you raised your hand. What would you like to say?
I would say cute start. What a touching, adorable start. You know, a little Robin trying to sneak up on Batman. I thought it was
Great. I guess I agree with Pete technically, but I do like.
I mean, the POV angles, like it really was a kid looking up at these heroes. I thought that was such great attention to detail that really gave
this
it such
really
a,
is not helping my theory that you don't read beyond the first page or two, Pete.
yeah,
okay,
that's
fine.
one conspiracy theory I
How
can get
about the
behind.
Born on a Doomsday panel? That was later, you dick. That was awesome.
I mean, that was
gonna-
like page 4.
Oh, look, he's flipping through the book right now.
How about this thing at the last page that I just looked at?
Yeah, you see this UPC code on the back cover? Whoo! Did not see that coming. That's how you.
is fun.
That's how you buy
This
the
is
book.
fun.
They
This
scan
is
it.
cool.
What were you going to say, Justin?
Yes, I thought P was going to have a slight rebuttal.
No, I'm just enjoying how much you guys enjoy, shooting holes and everything I'm trying to do.
We're trying to do.
Man.
What are you trying to do?
I don't know, give my opinion, but apparently it's not good enough because it only is stuff that
it's,
happens.
it's
in
a
the
very
beginning.
good opinion. It's a very good opinion. I'm just doing a classic Raz, a classic comic book club Raz, Pete.
That's why they call him Alex Razalbin. I agree with Pete. There's a lot of fun in this book. I love this sort of. It feels like a side quest in a like fantasy game or a fantasy series in a fun way. Like I could read a lot of this death metal stuff for maybe a long time. It's fun. I
It's
like the different
surprising,
takes.
right?
Yeah.
Well, because it's silly. Like, Pete, you did bring up the Born on a Doomsday, the Solomon Grundys who are also Doomsdays. It's the sort of thing where you get to this point, you're like, this is so stupid, but it works at the same time.
Yeah.
Where
So
it's just mashing your toys together. That's all it is. But they're having such a good time with it. It's fun to read.
A Solomon Grundy arm falls off. You put a Doomsday on.
Exactly. All right, let's move on to Seven Secrets #2 from Boom Studios, written by Tom Taylor and art by Danielle DeNucolo. We really like the first issue of this, though I think there was a little criticism from some of us about the end perhaps being a little confusing or not sure where it was going necessarily. But it is about a world where there's a secret society. They hold 7 secrets. We're focusing on one character who's part of that, who is the son of 2 of the characters who hold 2 of those secrets. One of those characters, at least one of those characters, dies in the last issue, and there's a big villain who's trying to take them all down. We flash back this issue and get an origin. I thought not only was this issue great, but the cliffhanger was superb. Like one of the best that I've read in a really long time, like the last sentence of the book, and it made me even way more into this book than I was before.
Wow. I read that like last part and was like, oh man, that's more heartbreaking than we need. Did you need to do that at the end? But I agree. This is information that we needed, and it's important moving forward. I'm glad they kind of took a breath to give us this kind of flashback type of thing. Yeah, I'm really into this book now. This issue got me more hyped about it.
Yeah, especially in an issue that felt like it was laying a lot of groundwork. It felt like a sort of an exposition-y issue. A lot of like drama in the King's Court style drama. And then to end on that emotional, like just build up to that last panel was really well done.
I can't even look at... Oh, I'm sorry.
No. All I was going to say was that I'd be really fascinated to hear how Tom Taylor structured this, because it almost feels like you have this very Harry Potter sort of training section that potentially would come first. Then you go up to the inciting incident, which is the thing where the society gets messed up, and then you follow through from there. But he flipped it. You know, he went from first issue to second issue, and he reversed the order of them, and it works so well. It's very, very smart. You
get the words I was trying to come up with earlier were palace intrigue. This issue is so much palace intrigue and ending on a real strong emotional beat.
I was just going to say that I can't look at a gold little ducky without getting choked up anymore.
Oh, man, sad stuff.
Really?
Let's move on to something that probably creeps you the fuck out, Pete. The Immortal Hulk, number 37 from Marvel, written by Al Ewing and art by Joe Bennett. So the door is finally open. We finally know who the big villain of this book is. It's the leader, of course.
Yeah, of course it is.
Or maybe it is. There might be something beyond that. But the leader is looking to manipulate the Green Door the way that the Hulk and other gamma-irradiated heroes have been resurrected constantly, hence the Immortal Hulk of the title. While the Hulk is outside fighting in the real world, the leader is inside this hellscape or whatever is going on there. He has taken over Rick Jones. He has taken over... Who's the second one he's taken over? I don't remember. He's taken over the irradiated guy, whatever the irradiated guy from the earlier in the run.
Yeah.
And there's somebody else that he's taken over as well that he hints at. We don't know who that is yet, but oh God, I cannot say enough about how terrifying it is to read every issue of this book.
Yeah, it's too much, man. It's too much.
No.
It's gone too far.
I love this book, and the sense of dread that's been building from issue one, and it just keeps extending and not only with the writing, but the art, despite all of the body just disaster that's happening on all these pages, you still get references to older Hulk artists. Like the last page feels like right out of Hulk history, and so much of it feels just so big. Every issue big and horrifying, just like I want everything to be.
This is a very meta way of looking at it, but it is very exciting to be reading an all-timer. You know, like you don't get that often when you're reading a book, but you read this book and you're like, this is a Hulk run that people are going to talk about for decades. You know, this is going to be talked about in the same breath as Peter David's run, as the original run, as all these other classic runs of the Hulk and other characters. And I don't know how this is going to end up. I don't know where this is going to go. But being in the middle there between Al Ewing's writing and Joe Bennett's art, which is like good. Cronenberg-esque in exactly the right way, it's very exciting to read every issue of this book.
Yeah, 100%.
Great. Thanks. Glad you agree, Pete. Just a nod, no thanks.
I mean, it's just, I'm glad you guys are having fun. That's nice.
Pete's scared.
This is a horror book with one of my favorite characters. So you guys enjoy your time. I'll wait until we get Hulk back.
If only, is there another book you could read where the Hulk does something like, I don't know, like Smash?
Yeah, I don't think there isn't. I don't think there is any.
No.
Oh wait, it's all
of those. Triad number 5 from Oni Press, written by Curtis Weeb, illustrated by Justin Osterling. I'll give a little pluggy plug here. Go check out our bonus episode where we talked to the team behind this book in the Comic Book Club feed. It was a blast and a pleasure to talk to them about the last issue of the book as well as the run. But Triad number 5, we have our main characters now in the city. They are battling folks. They are trying to figure out what's going on. The kids have no idea. There's a big twist, as usual, towards the end of this issue. What'd you think about this one?
This book continues to go its own way. Like, you cannot predict the storytelling here, and it's like fully into like sci-fi, like big sci-fi, like Blade Runner-esque corporate intrigue, and did not see that coming. Curious, with some still fantasy elements popping through, but it's one of the few books I feel like we read where it's like, I have no idea where we're headed.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Like, each issue is kind of like its own thing. And what's great is you don't know what you're going to get when you pick up this book, but it continues to tell a story just somehow more creatively in different ways. It's impressive to kind of see this thing move forward. I continue to be impressed by the art and the storytelling. In this one, we get a lot more action, and then some of the stuff that Zelbin likes at the end. But like, it's what
does that mean?
You know what I'm talking about? That hot tub shit at the end that got a little weird that you're into.
What? No, come on, Pete. I mean, that was pretty hot.
Yeah,
I mean, I love a hot tub. I wish there was another book.
You know
we were
what's
talking
best about
where
that
we
is
got
like
into
the
some
hot
real
tub
sex
scene.
stuff.
Man, and the hot tub scene being like cut between the guy who had his legs blasted off. I was like, fuck yeah. Give me more of that. Inject that into my veins. No, it was good. That was fine. That was a good tense scene and fleshed out more about the world. But I'm way more into what's going on with the kids and what's happening at the end. Great stuff. Catwoman number 25 from DC Comics, written by Ram V and art by Fernando Blanco. This is a bunch of different things. This is tying into the Joker War. Almost an essential chapter of it as we find out what Catwoman does with Bruce Wayne's money, but also setting up a new classic status quo for Catwoman that I thought was great. I like this book across the board.
Yeah. I had
a little burp there at the end. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I really loved the like amazing flashback sequences with the kind of tiger stuff that was almost like this orangist type painting kind of thing that was really cool. Plus, the way they kind of drew the action with Catwoman was really a lot of fun, where you're kind of like on the same page. You see her kind of like doing different moves. To me, that's kind of like old school comic book style, and I really enjoyed that.
We talked about this
I also
a little.
burped at the end. That was weird.
That is weird, you guys. Gas management, bros.
Justin is coming for you.
No, I'm fully in charge.
Oh God!
I think we talked about this a little bit earlier when we were talking about the Batman books, but I want Batman some resolution on the Batman Catwoman relationship, because it feels like we've been in this space because of whatever happened with changing up the creative teams when they did. We're in this place where it's like, wait, she's just moving his money around and like sort of not hanging out. Like, what's the deal? Want to know about their relationship. But aside from that sort of unrelated bother, this was an essential chapter, I think. Like, seeing Catwoman doing this makes you understand the main story a lot more for the Joker War.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's move into a little part of the show, and this is the end of the show here, which I like to call the Pete Sandwich. And the reason I call it the Pete Sandwich is because we got a book Pete really wants to talk about, 3 books Pete does not want to talk about, and then a book Pete wants to talk about. That's how we structure it. Pull back the curtain a little bit. But let's get to
the best way to eat a sandwich is you start with the piece of bread that you really like. Then you eat the middle, and then you get to the other piece of bread, which is the other thing you really like.
Yeah, bread's nice, man. Sometimes nice fresh bread makes everything better.
You just mash the sandwich bread first into your face and chew your way out.
Whenever I go to a deli, I'm like, hey, I love an Italian hero. Then take the salami and the pepperoni and the capicola, you throw that out.
Yeah,
you throw that out.
I love it.
You got rid of it. I just want the hero.
Just
like, you just want the bread. Like, no, you put it on there and then you throw it out. I don't like it. Oil and vinegar, you throw it out. Once in Future number 11 from Boom Studios, written by Kieran Gillen and illustrated by Dan Mora. Holy shit, the end of this issue was fucking insane. Not to curse too much, but they have been fighting Grendel of the Beowulf myth. They took care of Beowulf. This issue, they're finally taking care of Grendel. You can kind of see where this is going. You know where this is going. But the way Dan Mora draws this is so horrific and so perfect. Yeah, this really issue is great. This is one of my, I like the series anyway, but this is one of my favorite issues in a while.
Yeah, this is really just kind of back to what started this thing and made us love it so much. Just unbelievable action, this amazing grandmother in the heart of it. I can't, if you don't like this book, I don't know what to tell you. This to me is great comics, unbelievable art, unbelievable storytelling. The action and violence is just chef's kiss. Just fantastic. I'm having so much goddamn fun with this book.
Yeah, shout out to our interview with Kieran Gillen where we talked about this book a lot because it really informs a lot of the process and it makes it so much richer to read this book, hearing him talk about it, because you get to see in this issue the story that they're sort of caught up in and fighting catch up with them simultaneously. It feels like they've been sort of alongside the story or ahead of the story a little bit. And this last couple panels or pages, you really see the story come up and be like, you're done. We got you here. And that's really satisfying to see, on top of the fact that it's just a great action story and sequence and wildly bloody in a fun way.
Yeah.
So good. This issue is great. Let's move on to the... sorry, I got a little sick there even thinking about it. Capicola of the Stack. X-Men number 12 from Marvel Comics, written by Jonathan Hickman and art by Leinil Francis Yu. So in this issue,
the fuck? What the fuck is going on?
He's into this. He's into the meat. He hates the meat.
This is a classic.
No. This. Okay, all right, fine. You're gonna have Fuck Island. You can't keep adding crazier shit on top of crazier shit.
Listen,
you have
classic.
to deal with it. You can't keep just fucking adding crazy shit.
Can't you? Can't you?
How did Hickman say? How did he pitch this to everybody? Okay, guys, I'm going to change the X-Men forever, and just when you think it can't get crazier, I'm going to keep adding crazier. I'm not going to deal with any of it. I'm just going to keep going to Crazy Town and then walk away.
The reason I said this was the Capicola is because it has those surprising sliced peppercorns in the middle where you're like, what? Well, where did that come from?
Spicy.
Yeah, a classic X-Men book. As we all know, Apocalypse originally came from the dimension of Morrison, a separate island next door to Krakoa that has since had sex with and joined with Krakoa. His grandchildren have kept on his legacy. There is the opposite of Apocalypse, the evil Apocalypse, because as we all know, Apocalypse is good now.
Famously heroic.
What is happening? This doesn't make any sense.
This is definitely it's funny to read this after the past couple of issues where Jonathan Hickman was like, I don't know, Magneto's killing shit on the moon or whatever. I don't know what's going on. This is fun. They're just killing some plants. We're having a good time. Isn't this fun with the X-Men? You're like, yeah, this is fun action.
At a board?
He's like, did you forget that I'm Jonathan Hickman?
I think I can shout out everyone's favorite panel from this issue. For everyone's favorite page, the info page, sort of 2/3 of the way through, where we list the summoners of Amenth. And it's an infographic where we find out about the summoners from the school of Amenth, this world that we've just invented and arrived at, and how you can either be a shitty summoner, a decent summoner, or a kick-ass summoner. And it can summon Pete. You find this fun. You can summon a horde of elementals and up to 3 major daemons.
It is wild that in the course of one issue, Jonathan Hickman is like, oh yeah, Apocalypse had a wife and also a evil opposite Apocalypse who is going to kick off this 10 of Swords type thing or whatever because there's all these powerful swords. It's no big deal. Anyway, let's go into a hole. It's all good. And then it picked up on this random game that he introduced and then got away from in the last issue is insane.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, don't worry. If in case you're worried this isn't an X-Men book focused on the heroic X-Men, don't worry, because we got Banshee and Unis the Untouchable coming along for the ride.
Also, they're all mutants. They're all mutants, and one of their powers is to never lose, which is crazy.
That's a hell of a thing to say.
Yeah. This is saying a lot. This was the most Jonathan Hickman issue of X-Men so far.
I mean, it's a full-on fantasy story at this point. That's why I think this issue is pointing us to what 10 of Swords is going to be, and it's going to be this. It's going to be epic, grand-scale battles with people and places that we don't know too much about and may never.
But that's okay. Well, all I'm going to say is, like, I've been enjoying this enough, and this has been crazy enough that I'm willing to follow them down this rabbit hole into Insaneville that I don't understand.
100%.
But I also think about, hold on, Pete, I do want to hear what you have to say, but the only thing that I want to say is you think back to like 90s, 2000s X-Men that were like, oh yeah, there's Omega level mutants. Oh yeah, now there's externals. All of these things that we 20, 30 years down the road are like, yes, that's part of canon. I get that and I understand that. That's what they're doing right now. That's what he is doing is he's adding in these insane details into the X-Men mythos that decades down the road, we're going to be like, yes, I remember that. That is Arakko. That's what happens there.
Alex, what are you, crazy? Immortal mutants that don't know they're immortal? That's normal. 10 swords? That's insane. Can you imagine 10 swords?
You're right. I'm sorry. That's too much.
I just want to start by saying I'm not willing to follow them into this crystal anus that they're walking into. All right? This is too insane. It's not an X-Men book. I don't know what the fuck's going on anymore.
I guess I'm changing your birthday plans, Pete, because it's very similar to that.
Okay, well, I have no idea what the fuck is happening, who the fuck is doing what. Cool. I'm glad people are having fun, but
are you
wake me when the X-Men show
I don't
up.
usually like to talk about like further episodes of the stack, but next week we're going to be reading Dawn of X of Swords, Enter the Crystal Anus #1. And I hope you're going to read it, Pete.
Yeah. I have a feeling you're going to love it. I feel bad because the Crystal Anus is one of my favorite bars in Brooklyn, and it closed because of COVID.
Oh, it's too bad. It's too bad.
All right, let's move on to another. Let's move on to the let's say salami of this particular stack. Faithless #2, #4.
There we go.
From Boom Studios, written by Brian Azzarello and art by Maria Lovett. This I feel like we were a little down on the last issue of Faithless. Justin, I'm talking specifically to you because Pete doesn't want to talk about this at all. This issue I thought was very good. This is Faith finally shows off her art. She goes on a tour of Turin, I believe, with maybe a demon or a fallen angel or something like that. Very weird, very dark. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, I feel like what we've been talking about is it feels like this book has been spinning its wheels for a couple issues where it's like, we get it. She's an artist. There's all these like dark clouds gathering around her with demonic intentions. But I think this issue, especially the back half or the back third, we get sort of what the book is about a little bit. And it's about her being this conduit through sex to connect with ghosts and sort of use them in her art. And like that feels, knowing that is great, is helpful to maybe giving her power in the story to guide it as opposed to just be this innocent washed up in all this chaos.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of, it's interesting because it's kind of a battle for her soul type thing, right? Like they've been pretty clear about that. It's Dante-esque, etc. But you have this master artist who is coming in, who is encouraging her to go further in the darkness, versus she has this guy who comes out of the devil's door, but he's good in a way. He like inspires her to be better. And it's fascinating. This is Pete. You must have loved this issue, right?
The Devil's Door was actually the back entrance to the Crystallanus, and again, closed forever.
Oh, man. Yeah, so, I mean, what sucks is, like, I thought we were going to kind of get away from all the madness a little bit, and then it's like, oh, this is like a nice date. But then it's like, oh, yeah, of course, the dead person with an open head wound's going to still get some because this is a fucking weird-ass book. But, like...
it gives you hope, though, right? If you ever get a head wound.
I
had a little hope, and then the douchebag showed up at the end again.
No. I mean, like, if you ever get a head wound, you might still be, on the market.
Yeah, it's still bangable. Yeah, it's true. Just because you got an open head wound doesn't mean you still can't get some, I guess, is the moral.
That's
of
the spirit.
Yeah,
Pete,
that's what it says on my Tinder profile.
Alex, you've been married for so long, you got to shut that Tinder profile down.
Yeah.
I did actually, not to veer into a true story. I don't think we were married yet, but we were definitely dating for like. No, I had a Nerve profile, and like 4 years into dating my wife, right before I proposed to her, I was featured on Nerve as a single, and I was like, oh shit, oh no,
that's hilarious.
What happened?
Bummer. That'll pocket the ring. That'll pocket the ring for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I honestly went on only like 3 or 4 dates before I shut it down off of that. But yeah, then we got married.
Well, that's a beautiful story and was a great toast at your wedding, by the way.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to the Serrano ham of the stack. The Amazing
This
Spider-Man
is a high-class sub.
It's a good sub. It's a Brooklyn-style sub. The Amazing Spider-Man, Sins of Norton and Osborn, #1 from Marvel Comics, written by Nick Spencer and art by Federico Vicentini. This is another essential chapter of the storyline, it feels like, that I don't understand why it's a one-shot, other than them trying to maybe hit the timing right for anniversary issues or something. But this is Spider-Man is trying to save Norman Osborn. The Spider family is trying to decide whether to stop him or not from the Sin Eater. I thought this was very good. I've been liking this storyline quite a bit.
I mean, I agree. I've been loving the Sin Eater stuff, like such a departure from what Nick Spencer was doing before. This storyline is wild. Like, there's so much happening here, touching on a ton of continuity.
Much stuff.
Like the fact that the Sin Eater kills Negative Man and then adapts his powers it's like, oh, you have to have been reading Spider-Man for a long time to know what the fuck's happening.
Yeah. Also, like, it's just so much like stuff that you're like, oh, that could have been an ending. Oh, that could have been an ending. And then the whole Juggernaut thing is just such a couple panels that could have been such a huge thing. I was just really surprised at how much shit is jam-packed in this issue and what the actual, like, oh shit reveal at the end is. Like, there's just so much stuff packed in here. It's kind of surprising a little bit.
Yeah, but it's a good issue, particularly if you've been reading Amazing Spider-Man. Definitely pick this one up. Last one, back to the bread, as we expected. Headlopper #13 from Image Comics, story and art by Andrew McLean. Pete, I gotta say, there is no head lopping in this book, and in fact, he has a chance to lop a head, and he says, no, I didn't want to lop it. I thought this book was garbage.
Oh my God! First off,
didn't live up to the title.
I expect a little more head lopping for my head lopper. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, well, why, if you don't like it, you be quiet, and me and Justin will talk about it then. Okay, so first off, because we all know talking about the first page is the most important thing. Love the map stuff. I love where you kind of give us a map of the world, setting things up. Really great. Kind of starts off with some deep quotes to kind of get you in this mindset for something that isn't just violence and action. There's more to it if you can kind of look past it, if you will. But man, this comic just delivers nonstop. It's a fun action story with some heart, with some just amazing creative team behind. I love it. It keeps getting better and better, and I don't think I'll ever. It seems like a simple concept, but it goes so far beyond that. I'm very happy with like the team that they're traveling with now is very cool, and the art continues to be badass.
Let me throw this out to you, Pete, and tell me if this is something you like or something you hate. This book is...
Wait, I know what you're going to say. Yeah, I would prefer a prosciutto instead of ham on my my Italian subs. Yeah.
All right.
How many
I
salted
chose
meats?
Serrano ham based on Norman Osborn, who seems a little more like a ham to me.
Oh, okay, okay, all right.
Right. And the salami for Faithless, I think you can figure out.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. Love it.
Yeah, so what were you going to say?
What I would say is this book is Usagi Yojimbo meets The Legend of Zelda. And it's a fun book.
Oh, that hit such a sweet spot.
That's what I'm saying. That's that sweet Pete.
Yeah.
The art of this book is great, to be totally serious about it. It's so good. It is fun fantasy stuff. It's funny. I think like there's a little bit of a crossover in terms of the pacing and the story with Murder Falcon in a certain way. Like they're totally different stories, but in terms of very similar looking characters, just like these short, stocky, angry dudes who chop up things. You know, I don't know why you like that specifically, Pete, but that seems to be in your wheelhouse. But it's a good book. Definitely pick it up.
Book.
All right. If you'd like to support us, patreon.com/Comic Book Club. Also, we do a live show every Tuesday at 7 p.m. to Crowdcast and YouTube. Thanks, Pete. iTunes, Android, Spotify, Stitcher, or the app of your choice to subscribe and listen to the show at Comic Book Live on Twitter, comicbookclublive.com for this podcast and more. We'll see you next week at the virtual comic book shop.